Hi, my name is Ada Entitem. I'm a trainee therapist, and this channel is all about therapy, mental well-being, and personal growth. Today, on this episode, I want to talk about how you could find a good therapist no matter where you are in the world. I got inspired to do this topic because I saw a conversation on Twitter. Someone was talking about how they tried therapy and they would not recommend doing therapy in Nigeria. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I understand that. Um, you know, I just felt like sometimes, and I'm not trying to invalidate the experience that this person who said this on Twitter had, but I just think that maybe if I could give some tips for how to find a therapist that may be more aligned to what you're looking for and what your current situation is, that may be more helpful to have a better experience in the future. And so that's why I'm making this video, because I think, maybe you could try this out. And and let me know what you think as I go along. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I'll be happy to respond. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I have here that I think that you should definitely be looking at if you are searching for a therapist is, what is the modality that this therapist practices? So therapy is therapy. However, there are different modalities, and different therapists are trained in maybe one or more type of modality. And depending on what exactly, where you are in your journey, or what exactly your issues that you're presenting are, you may prefer one or the other. So for example, CBT therapy is something that is usually very, very good when you're trying to maybe change a habit. If you're dealing with things like phobia, you're scared of something, maybe social anxiety, for example, or and so many other presenting issues. I'm not going to talk too deeply about what these modalities are, but I'm just saying that this is something that you would need to research and understand before you select your therapist. There's also person-centered therapy, which is exactly what I'm training in at the moment. And then there's other kinds of therapy. There's solution-focused therapy, which is kind of very short-term. If you're not looking, if you have, maybe for example, you're trying to make a decision about something, like, that's just all it is. So you don't want to be in therapy for a very long time. Solution-focused therapy may be better, and etc., etc. There's so many different types. So sometimes therapists they're trained to do more than one, or they're informed about one or the other, and can combine this in a session. So you may want to make sure, ask your therapist, like, so what modality do you actually use? And that would be very helpful to know whether that therapist would be able to help you. Okay. So secondly, are they a member of a professional body? Okay. So it's so important, I think, for you to have a therapist that is as affiliated or a member of a professional body, just because, as we know, you're saying a lot of personal stuff, like things about you that you probably will never say to anyone else. And confidentiality is key when it comes to therapy, because how can you be open and actually bring up the issues that need to be addressed if you don't trust your therapist? And the importance of being part of a professional body is that this body can hold your therapist accountable for the way that they behave. They usually have like their ethics that guide the way that they behave, the way they treat you, the way they practice, and also they would probably sanction them or something if they breached the confidentiality clause that you have between you and your therapist. So if someone is just practicing on their own, they just woke up one day and said, I'm a therapist. I mean, people can do that. In certain countries, there's no legally, you can't say people can't decide to just be a counselor or something like that. However, it's your responsibility, I think, to say, okay, let me see what the background of this person is, and if legally there's nothing that stops them from being a counselor, then I would say affiliate yourself. You get a therapist who is affiliated to a professional body. So for example, in the UK, they have a professional body called the BACP. In Nigeria, they have a NACP, which is for psychologists, clinical psychologists, and that's the Nigerian Association of Clinical Psychologists. Yeah. And then they have another one called the ACMPN, which is for therapists, not for psychologists. So I would put the full information about these bodies, if you're interested, in the comment section. So this is very important, I think. And so let's go to the next one. The next one is, what is their specialization? So depending on what your situation is, different therapists have different specializations. I mean, obviously, when they're training, there's basic theories that they learn and they do their practice. However, some people choose to focus on one particular situation, and it's a specialization either because they had a lived experience and they've been in that field for so long, or this is where they've been working for a long time. There's so many reasons there's so many ways that they can become specialists in a particular field. Sometimes they actually do further training. For example, some people do further training in bereavement, or some people actually just work in like in a hospital where there's people that have to deal with grief, and then they kind of build experience that way. And your therapist will usually be able to tell you what their specialization is. So some people, they work with people that have had sexual abuse, relationship trauma, with children, for example. Some people work with children. There's just so much, really. And you want to know what exactly your therapist specializes in, and that would help you to know if they're the right therapist for you. Okay. Number 4 I have here is the vibe. Actually, this there's no way to quantify this, but then usually before you start working with a therapist, they would probably do like a consultation, and that gives you an opportunity to see whether you actually like the therapist. I mean, I can't quantify this, but you need to be able to build a relationship with this person. So sometimes it's just really, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel safe? Because it has to be a safe space, right? So you want to just feel them out and see whether you like them. Do you feel like safe with them? There's no, I can't tell you how you would do that. It's just, how do you feel about them, right? That's simply it. Yeah, the next one is the pricing. So yeah, of course, therapy isn't exactly cheap. It's not cheap. That's the long and short of the story. However, sometimes, depending on your budget and your situation, you may be able to access therapy, maybe through some kind of charity or a hospital. Like if your country does like public services that include therapy, your school, um, or then you may have to get like a private therapist if you're not finding what you want with these options. And in that case, the pricing would actually matter because you don't know how long that you have to be in therapy. So you have to be sure that this is something that you can actually pay for the long term, and or for the period in which you need a therapist, right? And usually some therapists, they can give you like a concession, something like that, if they know that um, you need help with pain. But then I wouldn't count on that. I would say just look at the pricing and see if it's something that you can be consistent with. Because what's the point if you're not able to follow through reattending sessions, right? So that's is that number 5? Number 5. And then the final one is the location. This is very important because you need to be able to show up for therapy. So nowadays you can have therapy remotely, like you can have it on the phone, you can have it through Zoom. And to be honest, it's not really a bad option. I'm for it, to be honest. I'm completely for it. I think being able to do therapy on the phone, especially for someone who's going through stuff, they don't want to have to travel anywhere, they just want to get help from their homes. I support it. Some therapists don't think that it's as good as being physically present with your therapist, but this is just my own opinion. And I just feel the location really matters. So that, and the fact that if it was also face to face, you want to make sure that you can actually show up for these sessions, because it can be quite stressful commuting to somewhere really far, and you may just decide, this is too stressful, I'm going through so much, I can't show up. And you need to show up, you need to be present for therapy to actually take effect on you and help you, right? So that's pretty much, I think that was really fast. That's pretty much the entire video, and that's everything. So let me know what you think. Do you have any other tips? What's your experience having therapy, especially those people who are from maybe a country where therapy is not really seen as helpful or useful, just because of, I don't know, myths about therapy or stereotypes? What's been your experience? And let me know what you think about these tips. If you have any, please also put them in the comment section and I'll be reading them. Thank you so much for staying till to the end of the video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Oh yeah, and like, share, and subscribe because someone you know may find this very useful. Thank you. Bye.